What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be talking about the 5 essential elements that every business needs in order to even call themselves a business, okay? Now that might sound very simple to a lot of people, but you wouldn't believe how many people got this stuff wrong, and that's the reason why they failed. And I don't know about you guys, but I like to know going into something if it's going to fail or not far before I go into investing any sort of money or capital or my time, more importantly than anything, into something. Now, for those of you who know and have seen the channel before, I run a lead generation agency that meets all 5 of these criteria. That's one of the things we'll talk about. I also run 2 different software companies as well, and we'll talk about those, and we'll talk about some companies that might be a little bit more familiar to people and why those companies failed, and it's because they didn't meet one or multiple of the 5 criteria that I'm going to share with you. Now, I've already written them down behind me because this is a training that I gave in my free private Facebook group. If you'd like a link, there's one in the description to that. But let's go ahead and dive into what these 5 elements are and how we can apply them to our businesses. And if you find value in the video, of course, you're welcome to subscribe so that you can get more valuable content to help you run your business, whether it's a side business, something that's making you a couple $100 extra a month, or something that is a valuable enterprise. I hope anywhere in between that you find value. So the first thing that you have to have in order to call yourself a business is create and deliver something of value, okay? And so this could be a product, this could be a service. If you're a nonprofit, this is the feelsies that you're selling essentially to the person that you're raising money from, and the thing that you're selling is the idea that that money is going to go help somebody, right? With whatever it is that your foundation is centered around, right? At the end of the day, that's why somebody is willing to give you their hard-earned money, is because they think that what you've created is something of enough value to deem more valuable than hanging on to the cash, right? And so that's step number 1, is you have to create something of value. And the name in the red here, you can read it, is value creation. So that's the first step, is you have to create some sort of value, right? Now, step number 2 is that something of value that you're wanting to deliver is something that others either want or need, right? And obviously we'll talk in other videos about how you can persuade people to purchase your product. That's what sales is. Sales persuasion, right, is uncovering the value that you have and seeing if it's something that might benefit the person that you're trying to sell, right? So first step, create and deliver something of value. Step number 2, that others want and need, right? That is called marketing, right? You need to draw attention to that product or service. If nobody knows about your product or service, I promise you they can't pay you for it, right? There's this saying that says, like, if you build it, they will come. That's not really that true. The reason why is because if you're in your basement tinkering around, I mean, think about Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak when they started Apple, Bill Gates when they started Microsoft, from their garages. If they wouldn't have gotten the word out, we wouldn't have these things in our pockets, would we, right? We wouldn't have computers. I mean, maybe somebody else would have invented it, but it's because they would have attracted enough attention to what they were doing to then ask the question, hey, are you willing to pay us this price for this value, right? That's what sales is, right? Where you're basically saying, here's the price for me to give you this thing that I've made or whatever, or this thing that I'm going to do for you that's of some sort of value. Are you willing to pay that price, right? And there's all sorts of things we could go into on another video about pricing and the different psychological human behavior behind that. But at the end of the day, that thing of value that you've now drawn attention to, is it priced accordingly to where people are willing to give you money based off of step number 4, which is, step number 4 and 5, excuse me. So step number 4 is, does that product that you've now delivered that somebody was willing to pay the price for satisfy the needs and expectations of that person, right? Now the expectations thing, that comes in for long-term businesses, right? Those are things that, you know, as long as you continue to deliver the value, which we'll talk about step number 5 and how important step number 5 is to step number 4, but the only way that you can stay in business is if your product was sold in a way where it gave the expectations and that you exceeded those expectations, right? I'm sure we all have experiences, or if anybody ever feels like they were scammed, it's because they feel that they bought in with certain expectations that were either set or perceived by the buyer that didn't end up coming true. The value wasn't delivered that they thought they were going to get by giving them the money that they were willing to pay for the value. They just didn't see the value, right? And so now step number 5, in order for this to be a repeatable process, is the finance portion, right? Is what you're delivering, or is the product or service that you're doing at the price point that you're charging and delivering for, does it have enough profit to be able to keep doing the process? Okay. And I see this all the time with people that have come into my Facebook group that are starting a business for, in whatever it is, and they have tried a bunch of other things, and they are, a little bit down on their luck because the other methods that they were taught, they had all the other 4 steps, right? They had the value creation, they had the marketing, they had the sales, they had the delivery and fulfillment ready to go, but they weren't making enough money to stay in business. So if you're evaluating a side hustle, this is huge, okay? Because chances are you're probably not in a spot to be able to go throw thousands of dollars into something to see if it's going to work out or not. So you want to go see if other people have done whatever it is that you're looking into doing, and all 5 of these check the boxes, right? So let's go ahead and look at a few examples. I'll use the whiteboard next to it to look at a couple of companies. So the first one that I'm going to share with you guys is a company that was featured on Shark Tank and ended up getting a deal, and it ended up failing. So for those who don't know me, maybe this is the first video you've ever watched of me. I love Shark Tank. You're gonna hear me reference it a ton in all my videos, but I really learn a lot from Shark Tank. I learn a lot from those sharks that are up there. I learn a lot from the entrepreneurs that are up there. This company was called Toy Guru, okay? Toy Guru. All right, I think this is how you spell it. So Toy Guru was basically like the Netflix of toys, okay? Which, I'm a young dad, I've got 4 young kids, twin 1-year-olds, a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old. Yes, I don't get any sleep, and it's very difficult running 3 companies and having 4 kids and a wife, but that's beside the point. So Toy Guru was the Netflix of toys, okay? And the business model was sound, right? They ended up getting a funding round from Mark Cuban and Kevin O'Leary. All right, I think it was somewhere in the range of like $250,000. Can't remember the equity percentage. So this company, they're going about it, and they ended up going out of business, okay? And there were 2 reasons why they went out of business, right? Reason number 1 was their sourcing prices became too expensive, right? So did they create some sort of value? Well, yeah, they did. So we'll put a check mark there. So they did create something of value, okay, that others want and need. I can tell you, for being a young parent, yes, toys are something that you want and need as a parent to satisfy your kids so that they can grow and have their brains develop and be happy and not cry and all that good stuff. So it was definitely something that others wanted and needed. And if I'm not mistaken, their marketing was actually pretty good as well. Now, the prices that people were willing to pay. Okay, toys are not a very drastically huge margin, okay, because you have to sort, right? So this is where we're going with this, right? You have to source the toys, you have to package them, you have to ship them, and all sorts of things in order for it to get to the distribution point, which is either a retail store or maybe an Amazon warehouse that the Amazon is selling, or an Amazon reseller is selling on Fulfilled by Amazon, whatever it is, right? So can I charge enough for my toys to keep me in business? Well, let's see what ended up happening. So the price that people were willing to pay, yes, they had that, because if not, they wouldn't have had any sales, right? They did make some sales. Now this number 4 and number 5 is where they went wrong. And this is where a lot of companies end up going wrong. They might get an initial spark of getting going, but I've seen this a lot of times. And even with stuff I've tried, okay? So I've failed many times in business, but I've kept going, and that's ultimately why I've succeeded, right? I think that's some sort of a Michael Jordan, the GOAT, right? Quote. Anyway, so number 4, delivery and fulfillment. So one of the issues that they had was that these toys that they were packaging to send out like a Netflix subscription, right? They came in very irregular sizes, the boxes did. So they weren't like your standard boxes. And so that made the delivery and fulfillment prices go up. That's part of the reason why they ended up failing, because those prices to deliver, right? It's not just the cost of goods, it's the cost to get it to the end consumer. Is it enough, and does it create enough profit for you to keep going? And that's ultimately what ended up happening, was between higher cost of goods, right? So in order to create the value, the cost of goods was higher than they anticipated, and the cost to deliver it was bad. So I mean, the value is there, but I would also say the cost to create that value wasn't there. They ended up not having enough profit to continue going, and that is why they ended up failing. And that's what happens so many times with early stage companies. So if you're a startup or you're starting a side business, okay, take note of this stuff, all right? So let's look at a positive one, okay? I'm gonna share with you guys the stats or kind of the model behind the Rank and Rent lead generation business model, okay? So the Rank and Rent business model, this is in a nutshell what it constitutes. You look up a certain service provider, something that provides value to the marketplace, right? You look up a service or a product or some sort of home services project are kind of very common ones that you look up in a certain target city, anywhere in the world. And what you do is you build out a small web page, a small website, actually constitutes of a couple of different pages, and then you optimize it with search engine optimization to rank on the Google search engine, okay? And so once that website is ranked and you own that website, but you don't do the fulfillment side of it, right? So then you have to go find a business owner to do the fulfillment side for the people that call in needing that product or service that your website is about. That's in a nutshell. There's a lot more that goes into it, but that's in a nutshell what it is. And so what I am essentially doing is then I'm going and I'm finding a business partner that's willing to then pay me for the calls and the leads and the form submissions that come in from my websites from interested people in the area that need that service done. So let's call it HVAC repair or something, right? So let's say it's a hot place like Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, which would be a very competitive area to go into that I probably wouldn't go into myself, but just for illustrative purposes, okay, so we create a website for HVAC repair, Dallas, Fort Worth, okay? So we've got our value creation, which is the leads, right? So I'm gonna write up here, lead gen agency. Okay, so this is lead gen agency. So by creating this product, which is this website, right, and ultimately obtaining the product, which what we're selling is the actual interested parties in that service. That's what we're selling to our business owners that want more customers, right? And that's how they're able to pay their bills, and that's how they're able to put food on the table for their families and everything, right? So that's our commodity. That's what we are. I guess I wouldn't call it a commodity, but that's our thing. That's our tangible thing that we are selling, okay? Is that either that phone call, that lead submission form, whatever it is, the project, that's what we're selling. Is that of value? Is that creating and delivering something of value? Yes, it is, right? So we'll put yes there, right? Do others want and need that? Do business owners need customers in order to survive? Yes, okay? So that others want and need, yes, so we gotta go tell people about it, right? And can we sell that service or whatever we're doing at a price that people are willing to pay? Okay, now let me ask you this, and this is going to be kind of a rhetorical question, but if I came to you and you were a business owner, even if you're not a business owner watching this, and you're a business owner, and I asked you, if I were to ask for $1, and as long as I could give you back 5, would you do it, right? Could I sell you this $5 for $1, right? Is that a price that you'd be willing to pay? Would you be willing to pay me $1 if the thing that I gave you back was $5, a $5 bill? Well, of course you would, right? And that's essentially what we're doing. Every time I go to talk to a business owner, I'm putting their information in to where, you know, how, depending on how much their service costs, how many leads I'm generating, the profit margin, and their closing percentage. And then I have a calculator that spits out to me the exact numbers that I should charge that business owner. And it's always going to be a minimum of at least 3 times on their money. So I'm at least giving them a $3 bill, which doesn't exist, for every $1 they give me, right? So if I go show that customer that on a very conservative basis, I can add $3,000 to their bottom line and ask them, would you pay me $1,000 if after that $1,000 you're left with 3? The answer is yes, every time, right? So, and that's the cool thing about lead generation, is I can price it accordingly. I've got customers that pay me $500 a month, right? And I've got people that pay me $2,200 a month, okay? It's just dependent on all of those metrics that I just talked about. So I can sell it at a price that others are willing to pay, right? Because it's a no-brainer. And then does it satisfy needs and expectations, okay? So this is where issues in the lead gen industry with like Home Advisor is going through a huge lawsuit right now. And the reason they're going through a huge lawsuit is because the leads that they're selling are all shared leads to these home service-based companies, okay? So if you're a contractor and Home Advisor, Angie's List, they're the same company now, calls you up and is like, hey, I want to sell you leads, right? And you get all bought in and you expect that, you know, if you get 10 leads, you're going to at least close 5, 6 of them because your closing ratio is 50, 60%. Well, depending on what your expectation is going to determine whether you stick with them long term. Now, that's the beautiful part about what we do, is we sign exclusive partnerships with these business owners to where they are the only ones getting the leads, and they love us because, for an example, I have a guy that I just snagged from Home Advisor where he got 9 leads from them and he's paying per lead for them, and he closed 1 business owner, and I think he spent something like $800 on the total of the nine leads. And he did not get back his $800 from the 1 job that he closed, right? Now, contrary to what I do, where the leads are coming in from a website where the searchers on Google are actually searching for the service, all of those customers tend to be very hot leads. And so the expectation is that, you know, oh, like if I close 20, 30%, but then if they're closing 40, 50, 60, 70%, they're very excited. And so it satisfies the needs and the expectations of my end consumer. And is there enough profit to keep going? And this is the beautiful thing, and what totally sold me on the rank and rent lead generation model is that it costs me $30 or less to build one of these sites and my time. So you can outsource stuff, and sometimes one of these websites could cost you upwards of $1,000, $2,000 to have fully built, optimized, and everything like that, between all the people that you're paying and the time that it takes to do. Or you can do it with your time. So when I first started, I didn't have a lot of money. That's what I did. I just built them, right? And I've outsourced stuff before, but anyways. So number 5, is there enough profit to keep going? And this is the beautiful thing about the rank and rent digital real estate model, is that it doesn't cost a lot of money to build one of these sites. My average site cost me between $30 and $40 to build, and my time, right? Which I know your time is valuable and everything, but here's the deal. That $30 a month oftentimes leads me to, my average client is about $1,500 per month. Okay, so if I can go trade $30 for $1,500 back, you're dang straight I'm going to do that as many times as I can. And that's the beautiful thing about this model, is it is a repeatable process over and over and over again. So then all I do is I go and build site after site after site after site. And for those who have seen my video on the rank and rent lead gen 313 challenge that I've challenged myself to do, to build 1 digital real estate property every single day, 6 days a week for an entire year, then you know that that's extremely difficult to do, but that's what I'm doing. And as these properties get ranked on the search engines, or if I throw some Google ads at them before, which is another option that you can do to get traffic sooner, then I take those leads, I go talk to a business owner and I say, hey, I've got interested customers in your area that need this service done. Is this something that you would pay me X amount of dollars for, right? I don't jump all the way into that in the cold call. If you want more tips on that, join the Facebook group, but I won't go into that right now. But essentially that's what I'm doing. And that's why this business model works so well, is because it meets all 5 of these criteria and there's enough profit to keep going, right? I have a lot of students that come in, and they come in from trying other things like paid advertising, things like Facebook ads and Google ads even. Sometimes there's people out there that are trying to do the same business model as myself, which meets all 4 above, but then number 5 is where it goes wrong, because they're paying for Facebook ads, they're getting those leads and then sharing them with a business owner, And first of all, Facebook leads aren't as high quality, but if you spend too much money on your ad spend and you don't get enough money back, then that's an unprofitable business, and you cannot stay in business if the business is not producing enough profit to keep going, right? So I think this video has been long enough. I'll just end with those two examples, but I hope you found value in this. If you're evaluating a side business, put it through this criteria: Fulfilled by Amazon, e-com, affiliate marketing. Gosh, there's so many different ways to make money out there. Make sure, even Ubering or Uber Eats or whatever, like make sure that you got the value, right? You've got that others want and need at a price that they're willing to pay, that satisfies the needs and expectations with enough profit to keep going. That's a big thing for Uber drivers these days, is because gas is so expensive. Are you making enough from your deliveries to pay for gas, right? And if not, then I'm sorry, but no matter how hard you hustle, if you put it into a machine that's missing number 5, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. Just stop doing it, right? Do like what Kevin O'Leary says on Shark Tank: tank it behind the barn and shoot it. I hope you found value in this video. And if you did, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video to bring you guys some more value.